everybody, welcome back to another reading vlog, and this one is going to be focused on fantasy romance or romantasy. I don't love the word romantasy. I know that that is a new TikTok word, and I know that there's a little bit of a difference between like fanro and romantasy, but they're essentially the same thing and people like to use them one or the other, but I have a hard time with the word romantasy. And I'm just gonna have to get over it because that's kind of the new thing. So welcome to a new fantasy romance fantasy reading vlog. I've been in such a fantasy romance mood recently. It's something that I've just been really gravitating for. I want my fantasy and I want my, magic and things like that, but I don't necessarily have the brain power when I get home from work for a high epic fantasy. So I've been really enjoying reading fantasy romance. You guys also know that I'm going to be going to a Polycon in 2024, so I wanted to read more of it and just really kind of broaden my author horizons, find some new favorites for people that I want to see when I get to a Polycon, and just generally read more of it. So really excited to do that in this vlog and just kind of mood read a little bit for a week or two. I'm excited. I don't normally do that. So I think I'm going to definitely pick up Blood Mercy by Bella Roth. That's one that I've been anticipating. People are loving it. There's a buddy read going on for it. And so of course I don't want to miss out. I'm really not sure, honestly, what I'm going to do after that. I want to read 3. Blood Mercy is really the only one that I know of. Blood Mercy inspired this vlog, and I'm just going to read a bunch of FANRO, and you guys are going to come hang out while I do it. So let's just jump into the first clip of where I started Blood Mercy. Hello all. So I just wanted to check in because I've now started Blood Mercy by Bella Roth and I'm quite enjoying this. I did decide to like basic tab it. I'm not going to do like a ton of underlining or anything in this one because it's really long and I think it would take me way too long to do that, slow me down too much. But I am just tabbing as I go, and I'll let you guys know what my tabs and everything are for this later. But this is following Cassia, who is the bastard daughter of the human king, and Leo, who is an ambassador for the Hespertines, which are a type of vampire. And they have been like on the outs for a really long time, and they are going to be meeting to come up with some kind of like peace treaty. That's really all that I know so far. I've heard a lot about this being a very slow burn, lots of world building, having very formal like dialogue and writing style, and sometimes being a bit dull for some people, while others love the world building and the slow burn. So there's pretty mixed emotions on this series in general, and I can see the validity in both points so far. It does have a more historical formal writing style. I don't think it's drastically different from a lot of like high epic fantasies, but it is relatively formal, especially in the dialogue, because this is supposed to be court politics and court scheming. I don't mind it. I think that it's honestly for me pretty easy to read. I am listening to the audiobook, but I don't feel like it would be difficult even without the audiobook. One thing that I will say could happen, and I don't really know if it's going to yet because we've met both of our main characters, but we haven't really spent a ton of time with them together, is just that I wonder if the formal writing style will keep me from like falling completely in love with the characters and being completely like gripped with them, because it is not as personal. But so far I'm not finding that to be the case. I'm quite enjoying it. I think that the world building is fantastic. I'm very interested in the bits and pieces that we've gotten so far. I also think that Bella Roth is doing a really good job of telling me exactly what's going on, but not exactly telling me why. And so I just keep reading because I'm like, okay, well why is this happening? Why are we doing this? What is Cassia doing? What are we doing? And I think that that's really helping me like get the pages moving. Especially for the first 50 pages or so. We have slowed down a little bit now that we're introduced to everybody, but I'm still very intrigued, still really enjoying this. I'm not expecting a whole lot of romance yet, or for a little while. They have met, and it is kind of like an instant attraction type thing, but not, I don't know, not in an insta-lovey way. I don't mind it. I think that's been done well. So I'm about, like I said, 50-ish pages into this. I definitely plan to continue reading it. I love the audio. I think that the audiobook is really well done. This is a chunker of a book, but I'm excited to continue. So I'll let you guys know. I just wanted to get you my initial thoughts, and I'll check in a little bit. We are actually now about to go out for Father's Day lunch, like late lunch. Dad did not want to go on Father's Day because it's just really crowded and kind of annoying on Father's Day. So we're going to go do it today, and yeah. So I'll show you guys what we get for lunch and let you know when I've continued reading. So I did decide to loosely tab Blood Mercy, and I'm really glad that I did because there's been a lot of interesting stuff happening so far. I'm only like 75 pages in, so really not any further than when I talked to you guys last. Yesterday we did our Father's Day stuff, so went out to eat. I did not get any pictures of food. We did the Dad's Day wings thing. I went to Lululemon, picked up my leggings that I had hemmed, so nothing super exciting happening yesterday, but I did want to kind of share with you guys what my tabbing system for this is going to be, so you can kind of see where I've gotten started so far. I think I'm going to do these tabs, and I think that those match like really well. They're really pretty with this. I ended up going with 7 tabs. I did quotes, which I haven't had too many of so far. Her prose is really pretty, and it is a little bit more like formal historical. There have been a couple of quotes that I've been like, oh yeah, I like the way you put that, but nothing, not quite like Carissa's writing, where there's a ton of just really beautiful quotes. This is just really beautiful, like overall. And then I'm doing court scheming. There's a lot of court politics in this and like maneuvering, so court scheming. Then I have one for Leo. Leo is not a character that I thought that I was gonna like. He is a cinnamon roll character, but I like him so far. Then I have just the Hespertine tab for the dark blue. That's anything regarding like the vampires and kind of what their magics are and what their history looks like, politics, etc. Then we have relationship moments between the two of them, so like when they first met, a Cassio tab, and then the purple is like a world building magic tab for everything, not including the Hespertine. So pretty happy with my tabbing system so far. I'm gonna go back to reading this. I think that the audiobook done with this is really good, and I'm enjoying tandem reading along. Then I of course have to have Cassidy's FANRO Patreon bookmark in there. I mean, look at the shine. Look at the shine. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to reading this. We are currently on sprints since I did all of my Father's Day stuff mostly yesterday. I'm gonna call today and then I'll see him next week. I pretty much have the day free, so I'm hoping I can get a really good chunk in this. I'd love to get to at least halfway today. We'll see how it goes. Ready for bed and, you know, hair for work tomorrow. But really quickly before I went to bed, I did want to give you some more thoughts on Blood Mercy. I am now about almost halfway, I would say like 225 pages or so, and I still really enjoy this one. I think that for me, this is going to be a series that has the potential for me to really love it, but it's going to have to get a little bit of plot before I do. So right now, I'm living in the court scheming, court politics, learning about the cultures, learning about the world, learning about the characters, thriving off of all of that, and it's sitting at a 4-star for me right now. I think that I'm going to continue to like this book because of that. I very much so expect this first book to pretty much be laying the groundwork to introduce us to these characters and to introduce us to these two warring factions and the politics and the cultures and things, like I said, that come with that. And I expect this to be a quite slow, meandering discussion of everything. And because I was expecting that, I think that that's why I'm enjoying it so much right now. But I do at some point need it to find focus. I need there to be a plot, something that drives the story forward. Because right now we really don't have anything driving the story. Like, we're leading up to the winter solstice and to the like signing of the treaty, but I don't really know what's going to happen once we get there. And I do wish that we had just a little bit more of that like political maneuvering, because every once in a while you get snippets of like the politics and why they're doing and saying certain things, but I almost wish we were like a fly in the room in the courtroom when they're like discussing all of this stuff and nailing down what's going to be the specifics, and like you being able to truly see the prejudices, not just from like secondhand, because Cassia is a human, but she doesn't really have the same prejudices that other humans do, and I think it would just be really cool. We got some of that in the beginning, and I think it would be really cool to continue to see that. These are all being very nitpicky things, honestly, because I'm really enjoying my time. Like, I'm just being nitpicky at this point, things that could make it more of a 5-star instead of a 4-star for me. I'm loving their relationship. He is a cinnamon roll, but a cinnamon roll in the best way. Like, you can tell he has morals, and he has like the way that he thinks that things should be done, and he wants things to be right. But at the same time, like, there's a little bit of sass and a little bit of banter that they have between the two of them that's not an enemies to lovers banter, but it's still very like bouncing off of each other. You can tell that it is very natural, and it just flows in a way that doesn't seem like insta love, but just makes their connection deeper, because it's the way that I could see myself like flirting with somebody in the real world. So I think that was really, really well done, and I'm loving their moments together. I think that that's about it. I love Night. I love how protective that her animal companion is of her, and how Leo treats the animal companion. It's amazing. I'm loving learning through their relationship more about the Hespertines and why they do things. And I'm also really loving how you can tell at different moments there's words that are capitalized, and just having looked at the titles for the other books in the series, I'm able to like circle those, because this is talking about the mercy, or the the solace, or the grace, and you can tell that those are proper nouns. Those are like actual ritual type things to the Hespertine, and I know that those are going to be important later on in the series, so I'm like tabbing and circling those. Anyway, so I think I'm going to go to bed here pretty soon. It's going to be a really, really rough week at work. I'm just going to have to grin and bear it. I do have a student this week, so I can't read at lunch the way that I normally would, but I'm hoping to come home tomorrow evening and just dive back into this, make a really big dent. I'm having a great time. I'm just enjoying being along for the ride, and I think that's one thing that you do have to be, kind of have your expectations correct going into this. This is a very slow burn romance, but I haven't even gotten to like a lot of the romance yet. It is a fantasy, but it's a fantasy that is also very slow burn. And so I think that me knowing that and going in expecting to just really take my time with the world has helped a lot. Cassidy did say that she thinks she can see the end, like where the plot is going to be coming in, and she thinks it's going to be kind of like a Hobb plot where it takes a really long time for you to get there and there's a lot of building up to it. But honestly, that has me excited. So I hope that that's actually the way that things go. As long as we do have a semblance of plot and I can like see it on the horizon, I think I'll be good. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to probably go watch a little bit of The Witcher, because season 3 comes out in like 2 weeks and I wanted to rewatch season 2. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll check in with you guys, I guess, after work tomorrow. We're doing It's Bedtime handheld like phone, but I just want to tell you guys that I'm loving where we're at Blood Mercy right now. The interactions between the two of them, and she like just laid into him because he did something that really he probably shouldn't have, and he meant well, because Leo's just such a sweet cinnamon roll character, but she like gave him a tongue lashing, and I was living for it. I was living for that interaction. Like, I loved it. And now we're getting a little bit of like plot, and they're spending more time together. Cassia is really coming into her character, and I love her almost as much as I do him now. I'm having a great time. I'm really, really enjoying where we're at the moment. I think I'm a little over 300 pages in, and I'm really excited to just get back to reading, get back to learning about these characters in this world, and hoping that we're finally starting to see a little bit of that plot that I was wanting so much. I'm so excited. I had to come on and tell you that I just loved that interaction. It was great. Hey guys, so it's been a really busy day. I've just kind of finished up all of my stuff for the evening. We just watched the most recent episode of Supernatural, which was a gut punch episode, and I had a really busy morning with sprints and then taking Ollie to the vet. He has a pretty bad ear infection. Like, she cleaned out his ears, and then she gave him like a gel in the ear, and then she gave him a shot, and he's got to be on pills. He's fine. It had just gotten worse than really it needed to be, and it's just because he gets water in his ears when he goes to the groomer, but I did not realize how much it was bothering him because he did not tell me until he just started scratching. So he's taken care of, he's good. He's a little bit unhappy with me right now because, well, he doesn't like getting stuff squirted in his ears and he doesn't like going to the vet, but he's good. He's just gonna snooze and be a cute puppy dog, and I'll see if I can get any super snuggly video of him later. But I did want to check in because I am now about 400 pages into Blood Mercy, still really enjoying it. We've gotten the reveal of kind of what happened to Cassia and her family and why she hates her father and the king so much, and I think that that reveal was really well done. I liked kind of the questioning behind it, and I actually kind of liked how long it was drawn out because you knew that there was something going on, but you just didn't know what, and it kept me really reading and wanting to find that out. We also had our first kind of moments with Cassia and Leo as more than just acquaintances getting to know one another, and I thought that that was really well done, super steamy, and I love that it was a really slow burn leading up to that. I also loved how naive Cassia is and how Bella Roth doesn't really shy away from showing you how naive she is. I did feel like the escalation of that scene was a little bit too quick for my liking. I wish that we had gone a little slower, drawn out that process a little bit more because of how naive she was, but in the same context with the way that the Hespertine are and with the nature of what they are, it made a little bit more sense, but I still wish it had been drawn out just a bit more. But I'm still really, really liking this book. I am looking for plot. I haven't really found the plot yet. I'm hoping that it comes in more toward the end of the story and that I really like the direction that it's headed in, because right now I am still just kind of enjoying learning about Cassia and Leo and the magic and how all of that is shaping out. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to read any more tonight. I definitely think that I wanted to get to page 400. But it is also Monday and it is the start of The Bachelorette tonight, and I just have a guilty pleasure for The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Sue me, I know they're terrible, but for some reason, it's just like a train wreck that I can't look away from. So I usually like watch the seasons intermittently as they're going on. This is night one, so it's when everybody kind of makes a fool out of themselves and all the drama starts. So probably gotta watch that because, like, why not? This is charity season, so I'm gonna see how that goes. But yeah, I'm gonna go pour me a glass of wine, snuggle in on the couch, watch that, and if I get any more reading done tonight, I'll check back in with you guys, but probably won't until tomorrow. Hey everybody, pardon the hair, had to throw it back because it is pouring down rain outside and it looked not great before this clip. But I wanted to tell you guys that I have finished Blood Mercy by Bella Roth, and I really, really, really enjoyed this one. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did because, I'll be honest, this book has a lot of anti-buzzwords for me. It is slow in the plot. It is a more like a Regency style setting. There's a lot of world building done in dialogue, and all of those things are things that I don't typically love, but I think Bella Roth did it in a really good way, and that just goes to show you that if something's done well, even if it's something I don't traditionally like, I can still like it when it's done well. And I think that this book accomplished that. It's going to be a solid 4-star for me. There were things that I loved, things that I do think that could have been a little bit better. I did read this really, really slow, but it wasn't because of the pacing of it. It was just, I didn't have the mental capacity to come home and read physically and then tab it, but I think that the tabs turned out like absolutely beautifully on this one, and I'm so glad that I did because I will be meeting her in April of next year at a Polycon, and what better way than to tell an author that you really appreciated their book than by showing them a well-loved tab version of the book. But anyway, let's talk about what I liked about this one. I think that it had incredible world building and a magic system. The Hespertine and the twist that she put on your traditional vampire I thought was extremely well done. They are not the villains, even though they're perceived as the villains. And I love how in a lot of traditional vampire stories, pretty much everything they do is surrounding death. But the Hespertine, most of what they do is focused on life. And I thought that that was an excellent twist. I did really like the magic system as a whole because the Hespertine aren't the only ones with magic. There are also mages in this world and different potions and things like that that I thought was well done. I am hoping that we get a little bit more from that side of the magic in the future because I found it very interesting and just wanted to know more. One thing that I do wish we could have done slightly better with the world building is just told me more about the surrounding areas, because that does come into play later in the books. We hear about Tenbria, Is that how you say? I can't remember. We hear about the mortal kind of realm that we're dealing with, and then we also hear about the Hespertine world and realm that we're dealing with, but you don't really hear about the other countries that are surrounding until closer to the end, and I would have liked to have heard more about those. I think that the character development in here is absolutely incredible. We see Cassia go from this meek, groveling child to a strong, empowered woman, and it was beautifully done. It did not feel like it was forced. It did not feel unnatural. It felt like a woman who has a strong force behind her, someone believing in her and encouraging her on, can really blossom into the person that she was meant to be, and it was incredible. That last chapter and the way that she handled something, just loved it. It was so good. I thought that that was one of the best character developments that I've seen. Leo did have great character development, but his was not in quite the same scale as Cassia, and that's okay. I thought that he was an extremely well done character. I don't typically like a cinnamon roll character, so there's another anti-buzzword, but I really enjoyed him and his empowerment of Cassia and the way that he treated her. I did feel like sometimes their relationship, while in an extremely slow burn, there was a little bit that happened a little too quickly for me, like the sex scenes. I did want that to be slightly more drawn out, but I feel like that's weird to say considering we spend over half the book with them getting to know one another. I think I just wanted that particular like scene build up to have a little bit more foreplay to it. But overall, like, I think it was beautifully done. I love the way that they kind of interacted with one another and how she was having to learn and he was having to learn everything, including being intimate with another person. I did not love the world building done in dialogue, but again, I think that because it was conversational and because both of them were having to learn about each other's worlds, that was perfectly fine and a very acceptable way to do this. I do wish there was a little bit more plot in here. That is the number one thing that did probably bring it down from a 5-star to a 4-star, is because a lot of this feels like setup, but I'm not sure what it's setting up for. We did start to see an inkling of the plot coming in about, I don't know, the last 100-ish pages or so, and I like where it's heading. I hope we get a lot more of it in the next book because I'm looking forward to having everything expand and to learn more and see how these conflicts are going to affect Cassia and Leo's relationship and how they are going to work through this together. I did think one of the main conflicts in this was a little too quickly resolved for my liking. It felt very anticlimactic at the very end, and I would have wanted a lot more show of power from the Hespertines because that was a shining moment for them and it felt kind of glossed over. And I didn't love that, but that's a very minuscule like thing. It was not a big deal. It's just something that I would have preferred to be taken full advantage of. But overall, absolutely love this. Cannot wait to get to the sequel. Extremely well done. So glad that I read it. And to everyone that was recommending it to me, well done. You were right. So I think next up is probably going to be A Promise of Fire. I bought that at the bookstore not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and I've been wanting to read it. Becca talked about it, it's been a while ago now, but I think that she really enjoyed it, and so I'm curious to see what it's all about. I know that it's a fantasy romance. I know that it involves a soothsayer, and that's about all that I know about it. So I'm excited to read that one. As far as anything else, not much exciting going on. So I guess we'll just jump into that book and I'll let you know more about what it's about once I've read a little bit more. Wow.
Gasping, I tried to turn invisible. That important thing I was forgetting earlier. And I can't. I'm too weak. I try again, but nothing happens. Blood drains from my face so fast I see.
Live your life within the moment. And don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away.
Okay, so I wanted to share with you guys what I got at Mudslingers just now. I ended up getting their cookie dough like iced coffee with a cold foam on top, but I got it sugar-free, and even though like it's not half sweet, the sugar-free always is a little bit less sweet, so I really like that. But I like this coffee shop because their espresso is rich and it's strong, and I love it, and it's so good, and plus it's just a local business, so absolutely love that. I don't normally go there because they're a little bit expensive, but it's so good. So I guess when I stop at the next red light, because I really need to put you guys down, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Promise of Fire by Amanda Bouchet. Okay, so this is an absolutely beautiful angle, but we're mostly stopped at a red light. I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about Promise of Fire by Amanda Bouchette. I'm liking but not loving this one. There are a couple of things that I am struggling with. One, Kat is very, very much so not like other girls. She is very special and she wants you to know it. And I'm getting a little tired of that. She's very... Everything she does has to be a snipe. Everything she does has to be a problem. And while a lot of times I will like that character, sometimes it just feels like she's trying a little bit too hard for me. I think that maybe that will settle down though. I think that maybe it's just kind of the way that the introduction is working. I will admit that I'm not super far into this book. She can do literally anything. She's one of those characters that has all of the different magic. She's not really limited to any one particular thing. She's all powerful and some people are out to get her. I don't know yet if it's going to be one of those situations where she can do anything and it comes super easy to her. We haven't really gotten that far yet. But at the same time, if she can do anything and everything is artificially hard, that's going to be a little bit annoying too. So we'll see. Let's see. Oh, we also have Greek gods in this story, especially Poseidon. And I don't think I like it. I love Greek gods, don't get me wrong. However, it feels like it doesn't belong in this world. It almost feels like she went, well, I'm not exactly sure how to put gods and all of this in this story, so I'm going to put in Greek gods because everybody knows what those are and then I don't have to really explain it. And I need it explained. I need it to make sense as to why we're using Greek gods and how they fit into this world. Any kind of god. I just need to know how it fits into this world a little bit better. And I feel like we don't really have that. We're talking about oracles and things like that, but the world building just feels like there are a lot of ideas, but it's very superficial. And we've got this high epic fantasy world, yet we're talking about Greek mythology, but it's not a Greek mythologic setting. So it's throwing me off a little bit because it's only there in snippets. It's not like part of the big story. So I am having a little bit of a hard time with that. But overall, I think I like the banter between the love interest and Kat. I think that is being done pretty well. They are definitely enemies to lovers, which you guys know is my favorite kind of romance. So hopefully I will start to settle into this a bit more and like it as I get a little further, get out of the initial setup. But I think that the world is cool. I think that the idea is cool. I'm just a little afraid of how it's going to be executed. So I finished A Promise of Fire by Amanda Bouchette. I really meant to check in with you guys a lot earlier than now, honestly. I didn't exactly mean to like leave you on, I think my original check-in was like 50 pages in and then I was done. So let's talk about this one. I don't think I told you what this is about. So it is following Kat, who is a soothsayer, and she's working for a circus when a warlord comes up and demands that he come with her because he is the Beta Syntha of one of the warring, like, southern tribes, and she is whisked away with him to help him conquer the lands. But there's more to Kat than she lets on. She is a kingmaker, and the kingmaker is someone that comes along every 200 to 300 years. They have all of these incredible powers, and they are able to make kings by their abilities to tell lies from truths and to become invisible, tell the future. There are a lot of different powers that Kat has, and Griffin knows it, so he is going to take her in order to be a powerful weapon for his newly conquered kingdom. Of course, there's going to be a romance there. This is a fantasy romance. There were plenty of things about this book that I did like, but there were also plenty of things about this book that I was not a huge fan of either. I think it's going to be a 3-star. I liked Kat in some ways. Like, she is the archetype of character that I typically love. The sassy, spunky, take no prisoners, snarky, mouths off kind of character that I absolutely love, usually. But in her case, a lot of times I felt like her comebacks and the things that she said were just childish, not sassy and snarky. So I did struggle a little bit with that. A lot of things that she said made me want to roll my eyes rather than like snort or go, yep, I see you. Whereas Eska or Nona or those kind of characters, like, you're rooting for them and their sass and their comebacks. But a lot of times with her comebacks, they just felt immature and childish to me. There were many a times where she would say something and then the character would literally in her own head be like, yeah, that sounded like a 4-year-old, or could I sound like any more of a 4th grader? And I'm like, well, if you're noticing that, then of course I'm noticing that. And a lot of times it was meant to be cute and endearing, but I didn't necessarily find it that way most of the time. There were things where she would do something or she would think something and she would go gag or sigh. And I'm like, it just drew me out of the story every single time because people don't talk that way, or at least I don't talk that way and think that way. I don't do something and they go gag. It just seems like a very teenage thing to me. I don't know. This is not a young adult story by any means. The banter I did like most of the time, except for when we were talking about those childish moments. I didn't love the Greek mythology. I felt like it was very unnecessary and it didn't really add much to the story for me. I would have liked it if we had created our own thing, because I think that this has the potential to be a really, really cool world with a lot of cool world building, but she relies a little too much on you understanding the Greek mythology and then doesn't integrate that well enough for me personally. I just felt like I was always missing some other missing some other piece of the world that would make a lot of that make more sense. I do think that Kat's powers and who she is really cool. There was a healing magic scene that was done in a better way than usual. As far as the romance goes, it wasn't my favorite romance. I never really connected with their romance. A lot of times I don't know, I just didn't connect with it. We were push and pull, push and pull, push and pull for a lot of the book, but it was very instant attraction with her going, I'm not attracted to you, but you're so hot. But I'm not attracted to you, but you're so hot. And I'm like, ugh. It was very repetitive in that nature. And then when they finally did get together, it was just constant sex scenes that I will admit I skimmed through. Like, I didn't absolutely love those. There was just a lot of repetitiveness to this, a lot of the same conversations being had over and over. There's the secret as to who she is, which I don't really feel like was that big of a secret for me as the reader, but maybe was for the characters. So there were some good things to this, but there was also plenty that I personally struggled with too. I think that I will give this a 3-star, and I think that I will continue in the series because I think that it has potential, and I'm hoping that as the author's writing matures, as the author gets more invested in this world and settled in with these characters, that I will start to enjoy that more. I believe it's a 4-book series, so I'm just hoping that things do kind of settle down a little bit now that all of the character relationships are established. We know who our characters are. We know more about them. I'm hoping that we'll flesh out the world and the plot and that I will like it a little bit more, but I didn't hate it. It was what Bobby and Claire like to call ear candy. I had a fine time reading it, but it's definitely not going to go up on like my top favorite FANROs. So I'm trying to decide. I do want to read one more book for this vlog, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to go with. I do have the option of A Broken Blade by Melissa Blair. This is one that I've been seeing around a lot. I love the cover. It's about a king's blade and it says Kira is a killer. Her body is made of scars. Some were done to her, but most she did to herself. So I'll have to look into that a little bit more, but very interested in that one. Another one that I could do is Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. You guys know that I adored Carissa Broadbent's Serpent in the Wings of Night, Crowns of Nyxia series. I have not heard the best things about this first book, but I have heard good things about this series. I do kind of want to at least basic annotate this, at least the first book, and then maybe do full annotations for the rest of the series. And I need an audiobook, so I don't know if I'll go with this one just because that's going to be really hard to do on audio. And then the other option is a young adult, I'm assuming fantasy romance as well, Furyborn by Claire Legrand. This one is one that I've been interested in. She's going to be at a Polycon, and she did recently write, I believe, an adult fantasy romance, so I do want to give the young adult series a try as well. Illumicrate is also going to be doing beautiful special editions, and I want to know if I'm going to like those books before that sale goes live to know if I want to try to snag those up. So I don't know. We'll see. I haven't decided yet which one I'm going to go with. I probably won't get a lot of audio listening done until Sunday. Today is Friday, so we will see what I end up picking. I'll let you guys know when I know, but for now, I'm gonna go watch Supernatural with my patrons. We are currently on season 5, episode 8, which is the bad TV episode, and season 5 is one of my favorite seasons of Supernatural. I love Supernatural. Is there really a bad season? Yeah, the Leviathan season 7, that's a bad season. Anyway, so we're gonna go watch that. I'm just gonna kind of kick back, relax after the long week, maybe see if I can hunt down some wine, and I will talk to you guys later.
You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away.
Hey guys. So today has been a very busy day. I went out with my mom and we went and got our nails done. I got new nails, which I love. They're very bright, but I think that I like them. And we went and got my oil changed. Like, that's not super exciting. But on the way home, I went by the bookstore and I did pick up a new fantasy romance that I wanted to share with you guys. That is the High Mountain Court by A.K. Mulford. This one was an indie that I think Harper Voyager picked up the whole series for and kind of redid the covers. I've heard decent things about it. I don't really know a ton of what it's about, so let's find out together. It is about a lone witch, a forgotten artifact, a powerful prince, and a world exploding into chaos. For a dozen years, 19-year-old Remy has known she possibly is the last Red Witch alive, and she's determined to stay that way. But the Northern Court King, who has slaughtered her family and placed a bounty on Red Witch heads, is intent on destroying her kind once and for all. When 4 Fae warriors find her, Remy comes face to face with the determined and handsome Prince Hale of the Eastern Kingdom. He claims that he wants to stop a war with the Northern Court, and in order to do that, he needs a Red Witch. Yet, even as she is drawn to him, can she really trust this prince? If this could mean saving herself and her people and restoring her kingdom, does she even have a choice? Interesting. I think it'll be good. It says she's 19. This was in the adult section, so I think it's probably going to be a new adult fantasy romance, which is very, very popular right now. And I'm excited to give this one a try. As you guys know, I've been in the fantasy romance mood. That's why we're doing this vlog, so I'm excited to add more to my shelves. But I also decided on what I'm going to be reading next, and no, it is not either of the books that I told you that I might be reading. It is A Light in the Flame by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So this is the next book in the, which series is this one? Flesh and Fire? So it's the prequel series to From Blood and Ash. I read The Shadow and the Ember when it first came out. I did enjoy it. I felt like it was a little bit too similar to From Blood and Ash, but I did like it. So I really need to pick up this book in the series so that I can continue with the next book in the From Blood and Ash series, which is coming out in July. Unfortunately, even though these are 2 different series, they do intertwine with one another-ish. I don't necessarily think that you absolutely have to read them in that order, but they are technically supposed to be read in publication order, so I do want to get this one read. I don't remember anything that happened in The Shadow and the Ember. So I've started this one and like it's slowly coming back to me, but I'm struggling a little bit. I did try to find a recap on the internet and I found one, but it was just a very big ramble and a lot of the words were misspelled and stuff, and so I was having a hard time even finding it very helpful. So I think I'm just gonna wing it and we're gonna read it and we're gonna hope that Jennifer L. Armentrout does a good job of reminding me about the things that I really needed to know. But it does pick up like literally page of when the last one left off. We don't really have a lot of recap, a lot of setup. It just kind of starts, and I'm hoping that I really enjoy this one. I like this series. I don't love this series. I will say that I loved From Blood and Ash, and then from then on out, we have kind of gone down into the 3-star territory since then. But I do really enjoy just like reading them. I have a good time with them, and so I'm going to use this as an excuse to continue a series. But yeah, I think that that's all I have to tell you guys right now. Tomorrow is going to be a day of no reading. I do have the memorial service for my grandmother tomorrow, so that's going to be a little bit of a somber day. I'm going to go hang out with my dad, and then I'm off on Monday to kind of recuperate and drive back from the memorial service. So could end up doing sprints on Monday. I haven't really decided yet, but anyway, Becca is doing a 24-hour readathon for her patrons tonight, so I'm going to go hang out in her sprints and hopefully get a little bit more reading done. So I just got out of the shower, but I wanted to do a quick check-in on The Light and the Flame by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the sequel to A Shadow in the Ember, which is the prequel to A Blood and Ash. And it follows Sarah, who is always been trained to become the consort of the King of Death, Life, the Primal of Life, the God of Life, there we go, on her like 20th birthday, and she is being trained to kill him so that the rot goes away from their lands. But on her 20th birthday, when he comes, he's like, hey, how you doing? I don't need a consort, and pieces out. And she has to kind of deal with the ramifications of that. She also has powers of her own, and this is definitely a direct tie-in to From Blood and Ash. It definitely pulls on all of that lore that Jennifer L. Armentrout assumes that you would have already known from Blood and Ash. That's hard to say. And this is the sequel to that. So really quickly, I'm going to give just a very brief, not even really what I would consider a spoiler to Shadow in the Ember. So if you don't want to hear that, skip forward like 5 or 6 seconds because I'm going to be really brief. But the way that they leave things off in A Shadow in the Ember, I feel like we are having way too many sex scenes. So that is my biggest complaint of this book so far. I am about, let me see what chapter I'm on. So I'm on chapter 8, which is about 100 pages in. And we've already had like 3 or 4 sex scenes. And I just feel like it's too much. You guys know that when we're talking about fantasy romance and smutty books, I tend to say less is more. I do like the build-up, I like the tension between the characters, and then that way the moment of makes things just that much sweeter. But when we do things kind of right off the bat, it makes me miss that tension. And even though we've already got the build-up and the like foundation placed in A Shadow in the Ember, book 2, just with the way things left off, I would not have expected it to start back this fast. And that's all I'm going to say on that because I do not want to spoil A Shadow in the Ember. But it's bothering me a little bit. I'm just finding myself skipping forward through a lot of those scenes. It's not that they're bad scenes, but I don't need it. I don't care enough about the characters and that relationship and the way that things are right now for me to want to listen to it. I just skip forward. And I do feel like a lot of them have been there just to give you a smutty scene. I don't really feel like they necessarily needed to be there in as much depth as they have been. Other than that, I really have nothing to say about this book so far. I still think that the writing is fine. I still think that she writes in a very compelling way. We've had some interesting action scenes, but the lore and everything has not really been expanded upon anymore from A Shadow in the Ember. Like, we're just basically catching you back up from the way that things left off in book 1. So I'm hoping that things do start to pick up soon and we start to get a lot more like of the plot coming into play and how everything is going to start to shake out in this particular book. But right now I feel like we've gone through a lot of setup and a lot of sex scenes, and I'm hoping that it will get moving soon. So that's really all I have to say about that right now. I probably will get a decent chunk listened to it on the way to and from work tomorrow. I don't know how much more I'll get read other than that, but probably once I hit more of the halfway point, I'll check back in with you guys. It's around 600 pages long with itty bitty font. This book is very long, and I'm hoping I don't say too long, but once I hit about the 300 page mark, I'll come back and check in with you guys. But for now, I am going to just watch TV, be a vegetable, and enjoy my Monday evening. I'm about halfway through this now, and I'm not having as good of a time as I was hoping to. I'm finding that there are a lot of sex scenes in this, and it just seems like they're there to be there on page, not necessarily to strengthen the relationship of our characters or to move the plot forward in any way or to really do anything of substance to me as far as the story goes. And so I am having a little bit of a hard time with that because I just want them to mean more when they're there, and instead it's just constant scene after constant scene after constant scene. This one is definitely focusing more on the romance and less on plot. We are getting a lot more of the relationship between Nyktos and Sarah rather than this like expansive From Blood and Ash world that Jennifer L. Armentrout has created. And I feel like that's a weird thing for me to say because I was mad at War of Two Queens for not going back to like her romance roots. But then in this one, I feel like it's a little bit too much. So I think we overcompensated just a little bit. I'm still liking it. I still think that the writing is good, but I'm just not as engaged as I wanted to be because there's not much going on. I don't feel like there's a lot happening other than them talking, but their relationship isn't really progressing very well either. So I am struggling a little bit with that. This is also doing that whole world building through dialogue thing that I can't stand. And don't ask me why that works in this and doesn't work in A Light in the Flame. I think it's that this is a much more conversational thing where the characters really don't know what's going on and they're having to learn through one another, whereas A Light in the Flame almost feels like everybody else kind of knows what's going on and they're just telling Sarah for our benefit, not that she's learning anything in an authentic way. Hopefully that helps and makes sense. I don't really know how to articulate what I'm feeling right now, but I like it. I'm just a little bit bored and I'm skipping through the sex scenes because I just don't care and I wish there weren't so many of them. So I do want to say that I'm a little bit corrected from my last clip. I said that there was not anything moving the relationship plot forward. That has now happened. So we have been kind of moving that forward, coming to some realizations, all that fun stuff. But we've had the miscommunication trope in a weird way because somehow they were miscommunicating while also talking to one another, so that's really annoying. But I still don't know 100% how I feel about this. The sex scenes have slowed down a little bit in between like half and 3/4 of the way through, so that has gotten a little bit better, and I'm glad of that. But I'm still just finding that this book seems very repetitive and like not a lot is going on. It's much more focused on the characters, Sarah and Niktos, and kind of their relationships with the people around them and different pieces of the world. And the plot is there, like there is a point, but I just don't feel like we're driving to that. We're moving toward that. Things are happening in a way that would push that plot forward. It just seems like that's kind of the end goal, and we know that that's the end goal, but like nothing's really happening to do anything about it. Yeah, I'm still having issues with Poppy and Sarah basically being the exact same character, but I tend to like Hawk better than I do Niktos. Not that I dislike Niktos, I just like Hawk as a male lead a little bit better. So it's fine, like it's generally fine. It's sitting at probably a 3-star right now, but I was just hoping that this one would be a really strong fan row because I really liked Jennifer L. Armentrout stuff in the past, and it's fine. Like, I don't really have much more to say about it other than that. But I did want to come in and say that I stood a little bit corrected. Hey, buddy. I stood a little bit corrected because we were getting some relationship moments moving forward and that kind of thing. But while we're here, look at this puppy. Look at this buddy. Here, you say hi, camera? Here, look this way. Look this way. Say hi. Hi, vlog. Say hi, vlog. He's ignoring me. But yeah, I think that that's all that I had to tell you guys. I'm going to go shower this little one in kisses and cuddles, and I will let you know when I finish Light in the Flame. What are you doing? Are you trying to find Annie? Goodness, goodness. He's just sweet boy. So while I'm already in here filming videos, let's go ahead and chat about Light in the Flame. I have now finished this book, and I think it's one of my lesser faves in the From Blood and Ash world and series. This one focuses a lot more on the smut and the romance and is much more of a romance romantasy than I would say a fantasy romance, in my opinion. If you're someone that really missed the romance in The War of Two Queens and you were like, I need the smut, I need the romance, I need the woo, I need the feels, then you may prefer this one. I tend to like a little bit more balance between the two. War of Two Queens left the romance roots pretty hard, but this one leaned back way too hard in the other direction for me. So I just wanted a little bit more balance between the two. I did expect there to be a little bit more romance in this one because the relationship was already established, but I don't know, I just felt like the plot was lacking. This felt very much like a middle book to me where we were so focused on the relationship between the two characters and getting them to a certain point that the plot and the reason behind why they were even together in the first place kind of felt shoved aside a little bit. And then when we were talking and things were happening, it just seemed very repetitive. So I felt like this book was way too long and slightly unnecessary in parts. There were definitely parts of it that I felt like we needed, but I don't think it needed to be over 600 pages long. I think that it easily could have been like a 350, 400 page book, cut down a lot of the filler, cut down a lot of the repetitiveness, and given us just an awesome fantasy romance. That is not to say that this book was bad by any means. I just had a few issues with it. I still think that Jennifer L. Armentrout writes in a very compelling way. I think that this was still, like I said, a compelling story. Even at the parts that I was bored, it wasn't one of those that I was contemplating DNFing or anything like that. So I still think that this is a strong world and a strong romance, but it wasn't my favorite. I also think part of that is because I don't like the couple as much in this one either. I like Poppy and Hawk a lot better than I do Sarah and Ash. They're very, very, very similar, so that may seem weird because they're almost the exact same characters, but I don't know, I just prefer that banter and that style to some of the whining, honestly, that goes on in this book. Drove me a little crazy. But anyway, the ending was still very compelling. She loves her cliffhangers, which is slightly annoying as a reader, but I can see from a marketing standpoint why it's a good idea. So this does end on a cliffhanger, like every other book in the From Blood and Ash series. I'm gonna read the next one because it ends on a cliffhanger and I want to know what happens, but I am curious to see how the next book in the series goes, the next book in the From Blood and Ash world, because I think it's partially from Hawk's point of view, and I'm like, I really hate it when authors do that, but also there's supposed to be new information, and so I don't know, I'll probably end up reading it because I'm just, you know, trash for continuing in this series. So anyway, yeah, I think that one's probably going to be a 3-star. In some ways it feels like a high 2, but I think it'll be a 3-star because I still enjoyed the writing. I still enjoyed what plot that we had. I just wish there had been more of it. But I think I may try to squeeze one more book in on this vlog. I wasn't planning to. I was planning to come and wrap up this vlog with you guys and tell you about all of the books that I read, but okay, so that last clip was going to be me coming in and saying, but I decided to read another book for this vlog. However, I have edited the vlog up to this point so far, and we are sitting at like 50 minutes. I figure I probably didn't need to read another book because that was going to make this vlog incredibly long. So I decided that I didn't want to just end it with these 3. Then that book that I was planning to read in addition to this, I will just put in another vlog. But I wanted to quickly wrap up with you guys what I read for this vlog. First, we started with Blood Mercy, and I loved this one. I thought that it was extremely well done, by far my favorite of the vlog, and I cannot wait to read more from this author and to continue on with the series. I am considering doing a sneaky Patreon video that should be coming out pretty soon where I go book shopping for the 4th of July triple stamp sale, and these might make an appearance. But I thought this was very well done. If you want a slow burn, expansive world with intricate politics and character development, this is for you. If you want something that's breakneck speed, keeps you on the edge of your seat, highly entertained, lots of smut, this is not going to be the fantasy romance for you. So just kind of be aware of those different things going in. And then I also read A Promise of Fire by Amanda Bouchette. This one was one of the more fun ones. It was very fast-paced, and there was always something going on. So if you're looking for fast-paced, this one. If you're looking for slow burn and intricate, this one. So this one was a much more fast speed. The relationship did move a lot faster. I can see the attempt at banter and stuff in here, but unfortunately some of the humor and snark missed the mark for me a little bit, but I still enjoyed it enough that I think I will continue on in the series. I'm curious to see how things move along. I don't know why I missed the trident on the front of this cover. That would have told me that Poseidon played a role in this book, but I did. So now knowing that going into future books, I'm hoping that the Greek mythology part won't bother me quite as much. And then a sequel that I decided to throw onto this one is A Light in the Flame by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one is the next book to A Shadow in the Ember, but I think it's book 6 of the From Blood and Ash series, and I needed to get caught up because the next book comes out in 2 weeks, I think, after you guys are seeing this vlog. So I did want to make sure that I went ahead and got this read. I liked this one as far as I like Jennifer L. Armentrout's writing style, and she does have some interesting world building and interesting plot points. This one was a little too romance for me, so if that was something that you really didn't like about War of Two Queens and you wanted more smut, you wanted more romance, you wanted more relationship, this one may do that a little bit better for you. I personally found like there was a little bit too much smut and focus on the relationship. I wanted a little bit of a better balance between the two, and I felt like a lot of this book did drag because of that, because the plot was not being moved forward. It was just relationship conversation. But hopefully that helps you decide whether or not you're going to love it. This one does end on a cliffhanger just like they all do, so be aware of that. I will continue to read them because it ends on a cliffhanger. And like I said, I like the writing. I just did not really love this one in the direction it took in particular. I just needed it to do a little bit more. But this one ended up being like a 3-star. It was fine. So overall, I think that this vlog was a win. We had a 4-star, a low 3-star, and another low 3-star, which, you know what, I will take. I will take it. So very, very successful reading vlog for me. I have been in the FANRO mood recently, but at the same time, I feel like you guys may be getting sick of the FANRO, so let me know that down in the comments below if you did stick around for this vlog. But honestly, if you're watching this vlog till the end, you're probably not sick of the FANRO, so. But anyway, leave me a rose emoji for Blood Mercy. I feel like that is very apt for this vlog. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, it means the world to me when you stick around, especially when I have been talking for as long as I have in this one. As always, links to my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads are all in the description box down below. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!